basically we're going to talk about small solar and things like that. You know, like everybody's kind of floating around this morning with the idea, you know, well, I know where some of these are, and you know that DOT work project has these, and yada yada yada. And you know, in a full collapse, you know, would it necessarily be wrong to loot the DOT of them? Probably not. Would it be wrong to loot your neighbor of them? Well, yeah. So just so we have that, you know, up front for anybody who watches on video, we're not advocating any sort of thing like that. However, the idea that you're just going to, you know, colony style grab some panels and, you know, magically have everything you need to put together a system is pretty unrealistic, especially if you really don't know what you're looking at. A lot of panels now that people are putting on their houses or putting on, you know, like Sam was talking about, you know, an area he lives in out in Arkansas, opposite being what it is. Southern Idaho, they use a lot of solar farms and stuff like that for his community. Well, now they have a lot of panels that are just straight 110 AC, and that's the deal where you see people saying, you know, they're grid tie and they don't have any batteries in their system, and what it is it's just Joe homeowner. They live in the Southwest or something like that. They get the tax credit. They pile their roof full of, you know, 110 AC panels. It's feeding into the grid. They're net metering, and then when they get home, when they're, you know, while they're off at work all day, their panels are putting in power into the grid, and when they get home and start, you know, living the consumptive lifestyle, they're pulling from the grid because their panels aren't going, you know, and everything else, and then, you know, the idea is they're basically just reducing their electrical bill. You know, not a bad place to start, you know, however, you know, for most of us and for the people watching this, you know, we're looking at, you know, survivalists, you know, preppers, I hate the term, but, you know, that sort of thing, you know, homesteaders. And with a grid tie type system like that, you have no battery backup. So essentially you're screwed. The grid goes down, you still go down with it. You might have, you know, $20,000 worth of panels on your roof and, you know, all that good stuff, and you might, you know, get a net you know, invoice from the you know, your Satilla EMC or whoever the hell you have, Florida Power or whatnot. However, you know, when they go down, you go down. So to me, as a survivalist, I don't think that's a very good option. You know, our system, we put in our system in 1999. It's basically battery, you know, battery powered system, bigger batteries than these, but you know, nevertheless, this is kind of your basic battery there. We'll go over each of the components here in a second. But so there's a possibility that you may find some of this stuff, you know, at construction sites, etc., 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 you know, in the paw. You want to look, the panels will have, much like say like a rifle barrel, if you look close, a commercially manufactured rifle barrel will say like, you know, 270 caliber, Remington, stuff like that, you know, bada bing, then you know I'm not going to be able to shove a 308 cartridge in this or whatever, you know. So panels will typically be marked. This is a Kyocera, this is an old school Kyocera 120 watt panel. It'll tell you the voltage and all that good stuff. This is a 12 volt panel. This is what you would want for a battery type system. You know, for years that's all you found was 12 volt panels. Like I said, now then there's a lot of 110 AC stuff floating around. You know, the simple equation you want to know, and you know, I'm not an electrician, I don't claim to be, you know, yada yada yada, but you know, is basically amps times watts equals volts. Say again.
Volts times amps equals power.
Volt times amps equals power, and they work
in watts.
Right, in watts. So for example, this is a 10 amp panel, and it's you know, at 12 volts. So this is basically a 120 watt panel, and you could do it, you know, you could, just like any other equation like that, you could do it backward. You could say, okay, well, how many amps does that panel put out? It says it's 120 watts. Well, 120 divided by 12, the voltage is, it's a 10 amp, you know, panel.
Ohm's law.
Oh yeah, Ohm's law. But the difference between what you might see at, you know, God forbid you buy one of those Harbor Freight deals, and, you know, a real alternate energy panel is these things are pretty well milled. Do that to your Harbor Freight panel, and then take it back to the store and tell them, give me money back for that piece of crap. Now then, a lot of even the Chinese panels and things like that that are coming on the market are well built like that as well. Versus so you know, when the Harbor Freight panels came out years ago, everybody was, oh man, you need to do this, you need to do that, and we went out of our way we were at a city and I said, well, I want to go see how these were. And they're really thin, they're like glass, you know, I mean, it's just, you don't want to waste your money on it. And people will say, well, I just want to run one light, and I just want to experiment. You know, but you always got to think, you know, do you want to buy a rifle with the intention that you're going to throw the rifle away one day? That's kind of stupid. You know, even when I buy 22s and stuff like that, it's the thought of he's going to use them right now, but at some point in the future, you know, we can use them for training other people or, you know, pest control or just, you know, cheap plinking. If, you know, 7.62 by 3.9 goes to $7,000 a, you know, a case or something ridiculous, I can train with his rifle. So always begin with the end in mind. And if you're getting really, really low-grade components, they're not going to integrate later very well into when you start doing the stuff on a larger scale for your home. So that's my little, you know, Harbor Freight sucks, you know, thing. But panels like this now, you know, you can get in the little over $1 a watt range. So, you know, come down drastically. Our first panels like this, we paid $625 for. You can buy these, actually a 140 watt panel, they've discontinued this one, now for about $350 at altenergystore.com. So panels have come down in price. Kyocera has a great warranty, 25 years. You know, Harbor Freight, you're not going to get any warranty. You can pay 30 bucks more for a 2-year warranty, which all they're going to do is replace it. You know, and the little proto box that they call a charge controller doesn't add anything to the value. So, you know, if you're looking at doing this even on a small scale, you know, spend the $75, $100 for a 40 or 50 watt panel that's built like this. You know, that, like I said, like I showed you, you can kick, you can, you know, you can beat. We recently put a solar attic fan on our house, and for the gable, you know, gable setup. And the panel, I thought, oh, this is going to be some cheese ball panel that comes with this. And it was a little 20 watt panel, about yay big, about like that, but it was built the same way, and I did these same exact things to it. You got to know what your stuff's going to do. You know, everybody, oh, what about hail? You know, we've had hail, we've had these things where we're literally up in the middle of the night when we first put these on our roof, praying that they weren't going to blow off. You know, it was like, damn it, you know, this wind is bad, and there's trees crashing, and the whole 9 yards. So you're going to get what you know, it's like buying a Raven 25 and going, this is going to be my only pistol. You know, that's stupid. Nobody does that. Everybody would go, you're a fool. You're going to die with that. You know, buy a Glock or buy a 45 or whatever. But people make compromises and stuff like this. Soapbox, sorry. Anyway, you're, again, what you're looking for is a 12-volt DC panel. You could go AC, but really for being off the grid, it's going to be tough. You know, because again, you want to get that battery, you know, the battery bank going and everything. And, you know, like we said, there's pretty much nothing here as far as sun today. Oops, well, you guys, we can pause it in a second here, and you guys can come around and see if you want. If you're doing anything with anything like this, a little multimeter, very nice to have, because you're going to want to see. And also, if you're scavenging these things, like you're talking about. You know, what is this? I can't tell. They pulled the markings off. It doesn't have markings, whatever. You know, okay, well, you know, Scott, put your tongue right here and we'll see how bad you, you know, how bad you get zapped. No, you can just go and check with your multimeter. And I got the leads turned around there. Oop. These little contacts are kind of hard to grab. But you can see with hardly any sunlight out, this is putting out some power. Okay. So again, this is the nice thing too about a little larger panel, is it won't suffer so much from shading problems that smaller panels will. You know, everybody wants to correlate this to you know, the solar calculator they have, you know, and they pass their hand over it and the thing doesn't work. And they go, well, that must be how solar panels are. It's not at all like solar panels. So I had that rude awakening when we were installing our system. I didn't know crap about it, and a buddy of mine that's been off grid a lot longer than we have, he, you know, we were all putting all the components up and had a bunch of these wired, and we had them on our roof at the time. And I'm up there. It was a gray day, a lot like today. And I'm sitting there and I'm making the connections, and I about got knocked off the roof, you know. Of course, I thought something was wrong. You know, I'm like, hey, Dale, you know, this thing shocked me. He's like, well, yeah, Rob, they produce power. That's what they're doing. And I was like, but they shouldn't be producing any power today. And, you know, you get some power on a day like today. So we discussed wind a little bit earlier, and what people don't realize with wind is you have to be really careful on the specifications, because you'll see and it'll be like, oh, 600 watt, you know, wind turbine, and you go, man, that's awesome. You know, we have, you know, a half a mile an hour breeze come through here, you know, every other Sunday. You know, I'd probably, you know, max out my battery bank in no time. They always rate them for the highest thing, and it's like, you know, yeah, sure, at hurricane force winds, yeah, you might put out 600 watts. You know, and then you look at the chart and it's like, okay, well, at 30 miles an hour, constant wind, it'll put out, you know, 400, whatever, you know. But you keep looking down and you start reading the fine print and you go, wait a second. At less than 20 miles an hour, this isn't producing anything. So they'll have a startup speed that you have to really look at the fine print on wind. We don't like wind particularly just because our area is not very good for it. Wind also will typically need what's called a raceway. You need a good, clear, open area to get to it. So whereas this, I can hide this anywhere. I just need a small window. You saw it was producing right here, you know, with all this tree cover. You know, so from a survivalist standpoint, to hide the damn things, you know, you could break this up into a couple different arrays and have them in various spots, not all one target. And also there's no movement catching eye. The only really, to me, the biggest thing where these are visible is from the air. You know, or if you were like down in a valley and, you know, somebody's observing you from a mountaintop or something like that. So they're fairly easy to hide. They're durable. You know, to me, it's probably the best power source, you know, that we could do for long-term use. So we're going to go ahead and pause it, and then we'll show you here. Well, we could do it right here and save some wiring, but we'll stretch it out a little bit and go ahead and